Today we are going to explain a Korean movie, Silenced, based on a real story of deaf child's rape case. A drawing teacher in Ho, looking for a job in Seoul City, and he gets a job at a deaf school, based on recommendations. For that purpose he left Seoul and departs to small city Mugin. On the way, his car collided with a deer due to fog. He goes to a garage to fix the broken car, and there he met Eugene, a human rights activist in the city. She takes him to that deaf school. On the same day, a little boy, on the other side of the city, fell under a train and committed suicide. In Ho, arrives at the deaf school to meet with the principal and the admin head, and they are twin brothers. His first shock at the school came when the admin head demanded a bribe from him, in the name of the school development fund. Without getting involved in the argument, he agreed, because he has his mother and daughter in town, and he has to do this job for them. He has no money, so he asked his mother, but she says she does not have that much money. The next day he went to class and noticed that all the children were a little scared, and they preferred to stay away from the teacher. At this time, a deaf girl named Yeon-do, drawing a very good picture, so in Ho, praised her but got no response. Shortly afterwards, he was a little surprised to see the marks of the deaf boy, Minso's facial injuries. He then approached his colleague Park to find out about Minso's facial injuries. Then Park says that he is being punished because he has not listened to anyone since his brother died a few days ago. Then in Ho, ask for the rest kids. Park says as they're deaf, so the kids are so quiet and they don't want to mingle with anyone. As he unsatisfied with Park's response, so he sat down in front of the school computer to find out the children's information himself. He sees that everyone in this school is very poor, otherwise orphans. Among them in Ho's eyes goes to Yeon-do, Minso, and Yuri, who has overeating problem. On his way home from work, in Ho, heard a girl screaming. He went upstairs and ran to the bathroom, where the noise was coming from. The guard came in and said he had heard no sound. In Ho, left without saying a word. The next day in Ho, comes to pay bribe to the principal and sees that the city inspector is talking to the principal. By the way of their talk, he understands that the principal has a good relationship with powerful persons. Before in Ho arrives, the principal pays a bribe to the inspector to remove the school's name from Minso brothers' murder case. On his way home at the end of the day, in Ho, saw Yuri sitting at the window of the hostel. He frightened and went upstairs to rescue her. But Yuri is very scared and in Ho is very surprised to see it. As she understood that in Ho was trying to save her, she showed him a room in the school basement and left. He enters the room and sees the school's hostel in charge, Yeon, punching Yeon-do in the head with a moving washing machine. In Ho rescued her and took her to hospital. He called the human rights activist, Eugene, as her injuries were serious. The next day the school principal and the admin head felt sorry for this, and says the hostel in charge apologized. Reassured by their words, in Ho told them where Yeon-do had been kept. At night, human rights activists, Eugene informed in Ho that Yeon-do was sexually abused, and the school principal did that. Once the children go to the police, they send them back to school. Then they were beaten as they wished. Then in Ho remembered that he had seen the inspector with the principal, and he has seen the teacher, Park, and the in charge to torture the children himself. Eugene says the hostel in charge is the adopted daughter of the school's founder. Namely, she is the foster sister of the twin brother principal and the admin head. Nevertheless, there is an illicit relationship between Yeon and the principal. Basically, they are all mentally deranged. The hostel in charge was punishing Yeon-do because the principal was attracted to her. Then Eugene shows a paper written by Yeon-do. She has written about all the tortures that happened to her there. Seeing these, in Ho rushed to the hospital. He saw in the meantime, the school authorities came to the hospital and threatened Yeon-do. Realizing the severity of the situation, the next day in Ho recorded the children's statements with Eugene's help. Here Yeon-do informs that one day after school she was looking for her friend. Then the principal called her and took her to the office. And first he shows her indecent videos and tries to touch her. She frightened and hid in a school bathroom. But her last defense is not the principal tortured her in the bathroom. She screamed, but no one came to help. That's when In-ho realized he had heard her screams that night. And if once he opened the bathroom, he could have saved the girl. Yuri's statement was then recorded. She said one day the principal took her to the office showing greed for chocolate and tortured her. Since she has an overeating disease, they take advantage of this disease and torture her a lot. They both reported that they have been tortured so many times that they can't even remember when the persecution started. After that, both of them are crying uncontrollably. No one can find the language to comfort them. When In-ho returned home, he started thinking about these things. On the other hand, as a human rights activist, Yujin goes to complain about this. But no one accepts any complaint against the principal, because everyone has a good relationship with the school authorities. On the other hand, In-ho goes to see the principal to think about his daughter and save his school job. But when he got there, he saw Park beating Min-so in front of the principal and trying to find out where Yeon-do and Yuri are. As In-ho, unable to bear it, so he hit Park on the head and took Min-so to the human rights office. The Yujin wanted to take his statement. In the gesture, he wants to know if the criminal will be punished if he says everything. In-ho promises, then he describes all the tragic events that happened to him. Teacher Park once called Min-so and his younger brother to his house. There, Park sexually abused his younger brother under the pretext of bathing him. Realizing what was happening, Min-so tried to stop Park, but Park beat him and knocked him unconscious. When Min-so regained consciousness, he did not find his younger brother in the house, but Park stopped him and tortured him. Unable to bear the torture, his younger brother fell under the train and committed suicide, as shown in the beginning. Police arrested principal, admin head, and teacher Park after the incidents were broadcast on TV. They asked to hire a lawyer who was previously a judge. When former judges begin the practice of advocacy, they get some benefits from their peers, which most of the time helps them to win case. That is why the inspector asked them to appoint a former judge as a lawyer. Since they are very famous, many people started a movement for them. On the first day of the trial, Yujin said it was a case for the deaf, so they needed a translator to help them understand, but she was expelled from the court for speaking without permission. The judge said that the judicial proceedings of this case will be complied with and no irregularities will be tolerated. The next day, the judge hired a translator. The first witness is the night guard of the school, and he testifies on behalf of the criminals. The children's lawyer told the judge that the night guard had been expelled from the school for theft, where he had previously worked. So he couldn't get a job anywhere else. And the job of these school authorities is to hire someone with a bad past so that they can use them later. Such witnesses are therefore unacceptable in this case. The doctor who performed the medical checkup on the girls then proved to be fake. Under the pressure of the judge, the doctor said that Tori's injury was 5 years ago, so she could not believe that anything bad had happened to her. The doctor's testimony was rejected for lying and giving false reports. Yuri's witness was taken to the court next day. She then explained how they had tortured her. At night, Yun learns that the school authorities are trying to negotiate with the children's parents. Then In-ho went to meet his professor Kim. When he got there, he saw the defense lawyer sitting with the professor. He offered In-ho a lot of money and a job at a big school, but In-ho turned down the offer and left. Next day, Yeon-do's witness was taken to the court. She explains how the principal tortured her, but defense lawyer wants to know how she understood that he was principal because they are twin brothers. If there is confusion about who tortured her, then it will be beneficial to bring out the culprit from this case. The defense lawyer asks her why she went to the principal's office to look for Yuri. She said that she went there after hearing the sound of a very vague song. The court proved that Yeon-do had told the truth. They learned that the children's families had negotiated with the school authorities. Min-so broke down in tears when he learned that his family had compromised with them because he does not forgive criminals. In-ho and Eugen recovered a video from the principal's office, where the principal himself was. They took the video to the lawyer to present it in court. The next day, the judge said that since the children's parents had reached an agreement with them, they were given 8 months in jail. In-ho understands that their own lawyer has betrayed them. Then it is seen that the principal, admin head, and the teacher are having fun sitting with their lawyer. Then it is seen that Minso left the house with a knife in a rage. Then we see he stabbed Park and grabbed him and fell under the train. Later they started a movement, but to no avail. In the last scene, In-ho is seen in front of a fog-covered picture of the Mugen city.